this one.
Yeah.
Welcome, guys, to Outside the Box, the new name for the pizza show. Very exciting episode today. I could make an episode with each of these guys individually, but we got three of them here. Left to right to left. Galpi, anime drummer, almost 200k on YouTube. Subscribe.
I appreciate it.
Also, JM League semi-finalist. I forget where he was, top 40 Vic, the most competitive region in Australia, Smash Ultimate, big shop main, consultant,
My job.
does everything. Marin, tennis player, has had ATP points, competed internationally, South America, Europe, all them places. You got anything else to say, Marin?
Not for now, no.
Not for now. He's a passionate guy though. And we also have Costa, who came number 4th, 3rd?
Yeah, 4th.
4th, BAM 8?
8th, isn't it?
Wasn't
Wasn't it like
13?
13?
13.
Bro, I get confused. Dragon Ball Fighterz. Crazy. And speaking of, I gotta show this clip. Hype everyone up. If you can see it.
With the pop-off, it's like going nuts.
He's doing a little dance.
I forgot to bring the audio onto that scene. That's fine.
Wait, what's the context behind that one?
Context, that was Dragon Ball Fighterz top 8. I was in loser's side, so if I lost, I'd go out, and I won, so it was the furthest I'd ever gotten at any major, so I popped off because I won.
yeah, nice.
Yeah, and the next game, I think he got like almost a perfect, and then like he missed somewhere in between. The guy was on like 2 health, and he dropped it. he went to go pop off again. So today's sort of topic is, I'll try and get close to the mic here. Today's topic is sort of, why is everyone here? Tennis players and fighting game players. One-on-one competition. This is what I'm sort of interested in.
And pizza.
And pizza.
Pizza, the most important part.
We all have a slice, and I've got some special slices to give away. We're giving away pizza. Anyway, one-on-one competition, different sort of sports. If you want to call game sports, esports, controversial topic, getting into the real controversy here. Anyway, so I was very interested because at a sort of high level, when you really have to think about how, like, the nature of the game you're playing and sort of how you act, how you interact with your opponent. There's a lot different sort of with the games. I think like probably the most notable one, tennis, you have a real physical factor where it's like you will physically tire yourself out. Whereas video games, you can keep going a lot longer. That being said, I want to sort of get into the similarities, how it is to play the games. This is a different kind of episode. Let's go. Okay. So but for all of you, between like each of sort of games you play at like a high level, how much of the game is sort of based on like the physical aspects? How much of it is like in execution and mastering like certain skills or like technique, and how much of it is sort of just the mental chess in like in the game? Just like you're trying to feel out your opponent, figure out your opponent, what to do when, that sort of thing.
I would say in gaming, it's a lot of the last one.
Yeah.
Figuring out your opponent and kind of adapting to patterns and stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's not much physical, not much physical activity going on.
There is a bit though.
Yeah.
I guess with technique, it's like you have I hope I'm like not too quiet. It is like you do have to spend hours, trying. I mean, some games, not all games. Like League of Legends, I don't think it's got that much like crazy shit. But it's like you can swear on this show a little bit, by the way. Whereas like I don't know, fighting games where I'd be playing Fighterz, I'd be messing up combos and my fingers get frustrated.
Yeah.
And that takes like ages. So that's sort of technique. It's like it doesn't have the physical dimension, but I think it has like a lot of sort of a technical dimension to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's just like the execution just behind certain things. Like in a like technical and like physical sense, it's pretty simple, but like there's certain like either characters or like that can change what level of execution you need.
Yeah.
Because for some characters it's just like ABC 1 2 3 eating glue, but for others it's like there's levels of complexity. Like for one of the characters I played, there's like a certain like level mechanic depending on if they do a super that like powers them up. So and there's no like on-screen counter for it. So sometimes you have to like remember, oh, what level am I at to do which combos, to do what certain moves and things that link into each other. So it's more, like Marin said, mental than physical at times.
Yeah, similar to Smash, you got like a lot of different levels of complexity with characters. Some are a bit more like we like to use the word like less mental stack, and others you got to like be aware not only of like yourself but also your opponent. And then if you play a more taxing character that's very technical, requires a lot of practice, a lot of execution, then that sort of affects your own mental stack, which then leads
very
into
mental, I would say, actually.
yeah, exactly right, which leads into like
Figuring
muscle
out,
memory and stuff.
yeah.
But I think to an extent there's like, I think both competitions or sports like have that aspect of physicality to it, even though you're not moving as much, you're not exerting as much physical pressure in say video games or fighting games. You have a lot of like, you have physical stamina, right? We talk about your massive run at BAM, and especially coming through loser side, in the loser side of a bracket, you have to like play a lot of games. And sure, like you may not be running around getting like, you may not have that physical endurance, but there's still, I think, a physical element of it. And definitely a mental, right? You got mental stamina. Like, can you keep your head in the game for hours upon hours? I mean, it's the same with tennis, right? You play like, you know, like 3, 4, like 5 set matches sometimes on the court for 2 to 3 hours. But in the same way, you're playing, you know, if you make it this far in a fighting game bracket, you're playing these matches for equivalents of like 3 to 4 hours. And it gets tiring. Like, I feel like at any level, any competition, no matter what you're doing, if you're doing it for a while, it gets tiring. So.
And there's something I've heard of which sort of affects both, and it's something called ego depletion, and it's basically where like the worse you're doing, like let's say you lose a round or lose a set, like the worse you start to perform, because there's less blood sugar flowing to your brain, so you feel like worse because you're performing worse, and it's sort of dealing with that like as you go along, and whether or not you can put up with that. Like especially in tennis, like with the longer sets, like it was 40 love, like juice advantage, and I lost it, and then it's you having to start all over again and like pushing like forward. Do you ever find it's like that?
You do have to reset a lot in tennis. So each game, depending on the scoreline, you would play each game a bit differently, I would say. Each point you play a little bit differently. At the end of the first, in tennis, there's lots of momentum shifts.
Yeah.
So things can go your way, then all of a sudden things go the opponent's way, and then it changes again. So you kind of just have to be able to just keep up with the momentum shifts, I guess, and just be on top of it.
I think that's the same in fighting games, right? It's like anything can sort of happen. You have different game states of like, say, neutral, advantage, disadvantage, and any time that like someone finishes, say you use your combo finisher, then more than likely you reset to that neutral state. So you don't guarantee that advantage state for the whole time. And so at some stage you may get a momentum shift, even if you're in the lead. And I think coming from like, because growing up I played a lot of tennis myself. It's like I did experience that sort of similar aspect of it.
It happens at all levels.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Right? That's the main thing.
Level,
it always happens. It's like almost
happens.
like a universal rule, right? Which is the beauty of it in a way. Whereas like you can always learn something, or like it always applies. You never get too good where it stops applying to you, I find.
Yeah. That's because you can play well, then your opponent can play well.
Yeah.
or you can play bad, then your opponent plays bad.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like-
always kind of, well, I mean, sort of that aspect where it's like, you know, how you're playing, like the state you're sort of in.
Because you can like go in the zone and everything's going your
Yeah.
way.
Because I think with tennis especially is this sort of like why I found it interesting is that like I mean same with fighting games and things
Yeah.
is that the technical aspect in terms of like training or like the technical and like physical aspects in terms of training for like both like fighting games and tennis are like very much sort of are what's put on like display, like what sort of comes to mind immediately in terms of like practicing, but it's like, you know, you can do this for like 5 years and get like really technically proficient, and then like a
Yeah.
16-year-old is just like better than you. because
But
it
that's
just-
also because the 16-year-old has been doing that since like
yeah, but like,
since like 10.
but you get what I mean? It's like someone's come through and it's just sort of they just have an idea. They know what to do in a certain situation. If that makes sense.
Like they have a way of
Yeah.
playing or performing that's just works really well for them, and like other people don't know how to play against it.
Yeah,
in a
or
way.
they can just sort of pick up on like cues really easily, or just see what, or like
Yeah, some
figure out
some
weaknesses.
people are more skilled. Some
Yeah,
people
I
are more
mean-
talented in that way. Sure.
Yeah.
Have that natural instinct, I guess.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, and also the thing with tennis is like, I guess this is sort of like my next question is just like, what do you think it means to like operate or like play at a high or professional level? Because with tennis, at least, I feel like you can just, if you're just like stronger than someone, you can sort of brute force it in a way. You can just technically be superior. Just smack
Physically,
the
if
ball
you're
really hard.
stronger
Yeah.
physically, yeah.
Whereas you can do
But
that
not
through the-
necessarily stronger like muscle, because
Oh yeah,
if someone moves well and someone's strong, like the strong guy usually won't win.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wanted to sort
you
of
just like hitting the corner and then the strong guy.
Yeah,
can't-
exactly
can't
right.
get- can't get
Mm.
there.
yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on like the fact that I think at a point, like that sort of that ratio between mental and like skill
Yeah.
is always changing, and I feel like when you start out, it's very much like it's more favored in skill when you're starting out, whereas like the person who's more skilled is more likely to win.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get better, like higher and higher levels of competition, I find that every damn person is skilled, right? So then at that point, I think it comes down where the ratio shifts to more of a mental game. It becomes part of your decision making, your ego, like how often you're making your own mistakes. Because at that point, both players are playing very well, and likely they may be more evenly matched. So,
Yeah.
hello?
Hello.
I think it's all of those things actually.
Yeah.
Tennis especially.
Yeah.
Because like obviously you have tennis players that are, have better endurance than somebody else, or has like a better stroke than someone else, something they're quite proficient at.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, at least
the,
in my
the
experience,
mental
playing tennis,
edge will help.
it's like the mental edge helps, like
Definitely.
especially in that game state of 40 love or like even deuce, but also like I could have the better forehand, but my opponent's just playing the better shots. They're making the better decisions.
Yeah.
But they can also make good decisions based on the shots that you give them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where it becomes mental as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It just sort of opens up. I think once you sort of pass that initial skill barrier in terms of you can start playing more to your opponent rather than like playing to yourself in a way. That it's like the game opens up a lot, and I would say I feel like that would be sort of the difference between like playing at a higher level or like more professional.
Well, that's what a lot of people say, actually.
Yeah.
It's like you're only really playing the game when you stop watching yourself, at least in fighting games, right? Because a
Yeah.
lot of the times you like watch your own character, you see what you're doing, but the moment you take your eyes off yourself and you like say, look at the ball, look at your opponent, or in fighting games, look at the other person's character, that's when you really start playing the game, because
Yeah.
you're looking and analyzing what they're doing.
Because you become so good, you don't need to look at your
It's
character.
all muscle
anymore.
memory, right? It's
Yeah.
muscle memory. It's kind of I found it sort of the same with tennis. It's like you do a forehand so many times, it's like you sort of see the ball coming, you prep for it, and you're already in
Yeah,
the
it's
motion.
muscle memory. You
Yeah.
don't have to think about
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
already there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, is there sort of a discipline you need to sort of get yourself into when it's like, oh, I need to like stop focusing on myself and just like, because there's a real, I don't know, at least when I play
Well,
a bit of
you
Smash,
just-
there's like an autopilot you can go into.
Yes.
And you're not thinking.
You kind of want that in tennis as well.
Yeah.
You want to find a way to get into that, yeah, because you don't want to be thinking too much.
Yeah. But how would you sort of get into a state where you can, like, you know when to think, you know when to sort of
Yeah.
Get
You
to
have to
give
kind of
advantage.
train it.
yeah.
Yeah, even I struggle with that.
So there's different ways, right? You have to find what works for you, I guess.
Mm.
Because I guess different things work for everyone. Usually breathing helps. You know, that's why you see
Yeah.
a lot of tennis players breathing. They just...
You know, it's a bad sign when your tennis players aren't breathing.
you know? But yeah, which, you know, routines. A lot of people have routines. Drink breaks, you know, going to the towel, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, making use of your breaks, right, in between every game.
Because if you get too stuck into it, you can kind of lose yourself.
Yeah, well, it's
in
the
it.
same with, like, in Smash, for example, like you when a game ends, then you have a bit of, like, downtime, like you either change
Yeah.
characters or change a stage.
Do you think the professionals are like doing push-ups? They're like, oh, let's go, next
Some
one.
people breakdance, you know, after.
Yeah,
after
I mean,
sets.
it
Well,
makes
that's,
sense.
well, that's winning. That's winning.
Because some people like, oh yeah, pop-off's true. Some people like get really nervous, but it's like if you do a bit of, like, physical exertion, you sort of like
Yeah.
get those nerves
Yes,
off. You like
exactly,
loosen yourself back up.
exactly.
So here's the thing. This is what I sort of got playing Smash, right? Whenever someone loses a game, loses like a set in between sort of games for the set,
Yeah.
there's always just a in your peripheral vision. Is that true for tennis? And if it is true,
In tennis,
is
it's a
that-
bit
is this
different.
a biological thing, or
It
this
is definitely
something that-
biological. The thing is, tension builds up, right?
Yeah,
So you need to find a way to release that tension.
yeah,
So some players, you know, smash a racket. Some players hit a tennis ball. Some players scream.
Yeah.
Some have other ways of
Group of-
releasing, but you need to like release it. Otherwise, it kind of just keeps building up.
yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Some gamers throw their control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's usually after losing.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, wapa.
I just sort of found, at least when I was playing, it's like at first when I sort of saw I'm like, I kind of feel bad for the guy now. It's just kind of funny.
Rage.
It's just like clockwork. I don't know. It's like, oh yeah, just waiting. I'm like counting down for the. Like,
One of my friends was playing FIFA. He had
Yeah.
like 19 wins in a row,
Mm.
and he was going for the 20th win. This
Oh,
is a few
no.
years
Oh,
ago.
yeah,
And he lost by 1 goal, then the remote went straight in the
No.
wall. It's like, boom.
yeah. Man,
Yeah.
FIFA is the game that makes people do that. I've heard like several stories.
I think it's because, like, for FIFA, I feel like for most of the people who play FIFA, they probably also watch football
Yeah.
and or at least like around that culture. So then when their team loses, there's usually, oh, this is the rest fault, or we didn't have our best players, or the coach's strategy was awful. But when they lose in like FIFA, they have to accept that, oh, it was their own fault, their own
It's
decisions
just
led to
rage.
their downfall.
Yeah.
That's the
Raging.
thing I really like, at least about like 1v1 games, is there's no bullshit. It's like, oh, my team's fault, blah blah blah. It's just like, nah,
It's you, yeah.
It's you.
That's why I always love playing singles as opposed to doubles in tennis. Like, I enjoy doubles. I love playing with friends. But I feel like I sort of get really in the zone, and sometimes it's like when I'm restricted to like a certain part of the court, or it's like, you know, I have to rely on my partner. It's like, I don't know, I like being in control. So singles is like, it feels like my domain. Like I own my own mistakes. I own my own like successes.
Yeah, singles is a lot more like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that's also why you find people that play fighting games. I mean, typically everyone gets angry, but like you don't hear the same, you know, rage you get out of a League of Legends call or something,
Or an
the
Overwatch.
aggression. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is probably a lot healthier, honestly. It's just like you just got to own up to your problems, man. So do you feel like sort of competing in anything, right? And this is sort of the question. Do you think like if you're good at fighters, right, could that at least we see? Oh, okay, back it up a bit. In terms of fighting games, there's a lot of crossover between people playing like, you know, fighters, and then I'll go like the Street Fighter, or like vice versa, and like across a range of fighting games. Doesn't happen too much with Smash Bros. Very insular community, but I was just wondering, this like competing and being good in like one sort of sport typically just like translate to other sports, or is it only like within that realm? Like if you were good at tennis, does that mean you could be good at another like 1v1 sport, or it's like
Not at a high level.
not at a high, you reckon?
'Cause I feel like
Well,
It
depends.
requires so much repetition.
yeah.
And specific repetition, so you can't translate that. You can translate some abilities, sure. You would definitely be better off, but not at a high level.
But it's transferring mental is the main part.
Mm.
Because I grew up competing in tennis, competing in table tennis before I even touched Smash Bros.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of weird to think back because I was a kid, so I kind of didn't really understand what I was learning, mental wise. It was sort of intuitive, but a lot of my discipline when it came to competing in Smash
Yeah,
came
definitely.
from
Yeah.
those sports
Yeah,
or
without
like
a doubt, yeah.
prior experience in competition.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main part because a lot of sports and even like transferring fighting games, even though
Yeah, without a
even though
doubt,
2D fighters are similar fundamentally, you've got a lot of different like controls, different combos, like character. Even like switching characters in the same game requires like rewiring your brain in a way. Yeah, it's just like
It makes you like mentally tougher.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like the
without a
mental
doubt, yeah.
carries over, but you still got to like redo all that muscle memory, all that skill, that technique.
I think that's a big thing though. Do you think it's also some kind of like obsession with the game or like whatever you're doing that also like transfers over? Because it's like you have athletes that like do well in other parts of life, and maybe it is just because they're athletes and they get opportunities. But it's like, I don't know. The most famous one is like Arnold, you know, good at bodybuilding, and then like he went on to be like the movie star
Yeah.
and like the governor.
Yeah.
Just because he just wills it, he just lets it happen, and you know.
Do you know what he wrote a book, right? I don't know if you read his book. I don't know if you read his book. I haven't read his book, but they asked him what was his secret to success, right? And he said repetition, repetition, repetition. I can't do his accent. But repetition, because you need a lot of repetition, man.
Yeah, but I think
anything you need repetition.
yeah,
If you're
but-
learning a language,
oh
learning
yeah,
games,
yeah.
it's repetition
Yeah.
trumps everything else.
I think, yeah, I mean, you find that people that are successful often like aren't one-trick ponies. For the most part, I find, or it's like
usually they're skilled in many different areas as well.
Yeah, because-
they're not like too tunnel vision.
yeah, because like we said earlier, like that stuff carries over, right? Like it's the same way with like some people, like even when it comes to like losing weight, for example, something very simple applies to many people in life. If people were like, oh, you know, I was in such good shape in high school, but now like, you know, I'm a bit older, I've sort of lost that. If they were like, you know, say a footy player during high school and like they would train, they'd go to the gym, they'd work on their body, you'd find often than not, even if they get like, you know, lose themselves a bit as they get to their mid-20s or 30s or whatever, oftentimes they can find their way back if they actually put in the effort because they've done it before, right?
Yes,
And I
it's
think
easier,
that-
yes, because
that-
you know how it's being
Exactly,
done.
right? So if you've
Yeah.
succeeded at one thing, I think it makes it easier to succeed at something else because you know how it's done to succeed. You know what it means to succeed. You know the work and effort to put in to succeed.
It definitely helps.
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I was worried you guys were gonna like lose what to say.
It goes quiet.
But yeah, just so I guess something else from that is like I'm trying to translate it over. It's I heard like this. I mean, we just stole this whole podcast idea from like another thing. But it was this guy who was talking like he used to.
Do you know what would be better on these? Wine.
We were saying that earlier, right? He's like, I got the drinks ready.
Why?
It's just a
You know
jug of
why?
water.
You know, the show
I'm
started
telling
off,
you.
I would give a drink as well, but then that just became like people just didn't drink or they had like.
You know how much better quality the
maybe wine will
speaking,
come in
the
the future,
talking
yeah.
would be. The conversation.
You gotta loosen up people that
Yeah, exactly.
that liquid confidence.
Exactly. So okay, here's another one. Do you find that the better you get, or the more you play at a sport or a game, like the more you do it, does it get like less fun or more fun? Do you find, or is there like something where it's like this isn't fun anymore? I know Fighterz. It got to a point when I started playing it, it was a lot of fun because I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, oh, I can just shoot up, Kamehamehas and shit, and then like I can teleport. This is great. And then like once it became like 2 combos to like you lose a character, it's like, man, I can't. This isn't as fun anymore. Is that? Do you guys find there's something with that, or it's like you wish you could sort of have the same fun you used to, or do you think you're always opening new ways to enjoy yourself, to explore the game explore yourself?
I definitely like for some like games I've played. There's definitely sometimes there's like a point where it's like, oh, I don't like this matchup, or I don't like this system change, or my character got nerfed, and it's like this is not as fun as it was. But like I think like for the games I've like really stuck with, like I think I still always enjoy parts of it. Like no one enjoys losing, but like like for Dragon Ball Fighters, even though basically it's gone sort of inactive for a little bit, like I'd still say I enjoy the game. Like, and I've been playing it for, came out 2018, so like five years pretty much. And I mean, I still love it. Like faults and all.
Yeah.
Or like annoyances.
Yeah.
But that's me.
I think in general, if someone is good at something, they'll enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing a game and you keep your shit pretty much, and you keep losing, like you're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And if you play tennis and you like can't keep a ball in the court, you can't hit a tennis ball, you're not going to enjoy it.
It is interesting though, because like we say in tournaments, like, the real heroes are the guys that go 0-2, because half the bracket is made up of people that lose 2 matches and then they're done. That's their tournament experience. But some of those guys keep coming back every week. Some people just like to play the game. Some people have that improvement mindset where it's like,
and some people really enjoy the game as well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly,
so
right.
That's different.
Yeah, because I think for me, it's very interesting because it's like, I mean, I always played Smash growing up. Nice. I wasn't sure. I heard a noise. No, I like always enjoyed Smash growing up, just because I was a huge Nintendo fan. Obviously, I only competed. Started competing in like late 2019, and then COVID happened, but like properly in 2021.
Yeah.
But it's like
Did you get money for it?
Pardon?
Did you get money?
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like I competed at a high enough level, did well enough where I could get some prizes for it. But I think, I don't know, I just always loved the game. And it helped that like one of my favorite video game characters got into Smash in the 4th iteration back in like 2014.
Yeah.
Have you followed like all these YouTubers that were gamers?
Sorry, what's that?
Did you used to follow? Do you follow all the YouTubers that are big gamers?
I
don't know if they're as big now, but I remember like 5 years ago there were all these YouTubers that were huge.
Right,
He
right.
follows himself.
No,
Like
I mean,
PewDiePie. I'm pretty sure PewDiePie was a gamer, right?
yeah. I mean, everyone sort of knows PewDiePie. I didn't really follow him too much, funnily enough,
Jack
but
Receptacle, is that his name?
Jacksepticeye.
The crazy guy. That guy's got energy, man.
Yeah, top of the morning. Top of the morning to you, laddies. No, but yeah, I think just for me personally, like being able to like play as one of my favorite video game characters was pretty cool. I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people that play Dragon Ball, because it's like you get to play as freaking Goku, man, like or like Vegeta or somebody. Yeah. But I think it's like when you, I don't know, there was just something about it, because it was also like not only did I really enjoy playing my favorite video game character, I really liked his play style.
Yeah. Like I feel bad for
Rare experience of a shock player.
No, but I feel bad for people who were like, "Oh my god, Banjo-Kazooie got in Smash!"
Oh
and
my
it's a zone. It's a zoner. So
It's a zoner, yeah.
basically, in fighting games, like everyone hates zoners except for zoner players. So it's basically like they're at the edge of the screen, like throwing stuff at you, and it's just like repetitive, and you just have to like dodge a bunch of
Non-interactive,
stuff. It's
Mamma
like
mia, look at this. If heaven is a place on earth, it is right here, right now.
Don't drop it.
Doesn't work.
That's nice as.
Yeah.
So I told you to surprise us with the
do you know he
flavors.
did-
there's some more.
You know what he did last week? He threw the camera over.
What? What do you mean?
Remember last week you tipped the camera over?
Oh yeah,
What the
I
fuck?
knocked the camera right.
you knocked it over.
Wait, so what do we have on tonight? You said I told you to
This is-
surprise the
this is
flavors.
The
This is
margarita.
the margarita, very
Yeah.
simple one, very nothing too crazy.
Yep.
Small but palatable.
Well, yeah, that doesn't seem to work. It just pulls on the
Should
mic.
I, like,
Yeah.
Move this
Yeah,
a bit?
maybe-
Actually, let's move the water.
I have one that was his brother's recipe.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys want more water?
I'm good, thanks.
Pizza.
I'm all right.
And then after that, I got a pea sauce,
Whoa.
kind of. this is what all the experts do. They cut the pizza with the scissors.
You know that none of that pizza slice business.
No, I'm not gonna pizza slice this. They do it so you
Alright, there we
can
go.
see
Sweet.
The crumb,
Nice.
the crust. But like,
Oh.
yeah, because this kind of like breaks it apparently.
Oh right, yeah, I see what you mean. There's
Yeah.
the crust that
Oh, the
folds
crust
in.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
but-
see.
I mean, to be honest, this is like easier. So
I mean,
This
yeah.
looks good as.
yeah, so
Banging.
start having some slices.
Dude, I'm such a pussy though when it comes to hot stuff. Like it's probably too hot to like be in my mouth. It's like it's so it's
You know,
terrible. I'm
I'm
so
taking this
sensitive to like warm
Baron's
food.
the first brave warrior to attempt it.
Actually looks really good.
Yeah, hopefully it is good. I mean,
Oh,
Let
I
it
just
cool
fell over the mic.
oh no. Oh, it's,
Oh yeah, it did.
it's the wire, it's not the plastic.
Does look quite hot. I took it
Is it
first,
hot?
but I'm not eating
warm,
it
but-
first.
It's warm. I'm just gonna be careful. It's
Oh,
very
good.
nice. Wonderful.
That's good.
That's
I'm
good.
glad to hear.
Low key, my favorite part of pizza is kind of just the dough.
Yeah,
Like-
well, that's what it is. That's the difference, man. It's like all the pizza shops, they just have got the electric ovens, don't care about the dough.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
shit.
Whereas this is the future, man.
This
I
is, yeah.
at least.
Yeah. The crust is the most important thing in our pizza.
Mm. Yeah, it's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, the crust is the palate cleanser.
Yeah, and definitely, and you gotta be good. It's gotta be good bread.
Yeah.
Oh.
The dog she wants food. What a hungry little beast.
Yeah, it smells it, instantly
Cora.
comes out.
Yeah. So what's in the news, fellas? What's been happening? Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Gotcha,
Sorry.
there you
I'm
go.
just-
Are you Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Let me check. Have you seen that one tweet where it's a guy? He's just walking.
In a supermarket,
He's
yeah.
in a supermarket and like there's like a can of I don't know, beans or something. It falls and he's just like, oh, picks it up and then quickly he's just like,
Yeah.
and the caption's like, gotta check just in case.
Yeah, it was like security cam for your food.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it might have been like a convenience store or something. Yeah, and it just catches something.
Yeah.
Maybe he is.
Maybe. Hello? Are you drooling on me? What the hell?
Someone's hungry.
Do you think in terms of sort of the mental aspect, because I feel like that's sort of, you know, the big sort of commonality between the two fields, is that like, do you think you're just sort of like born with it, or do you think it's something you can really attune to?
Both.
But,
It's
yeah.
definitely both.
Like some people are just born with faster reaction times, like stronger bones.
Yeah, but it's
But-
like
Talent,
It's
the
because
genetics.
we're talking about like I'm picking up on other people and stuff, right? It's like the physical aspect is like, at least with tennis, very identifiable. You know, if you're a little dwarf boy, you know, you're not going to be a great player. You're going to be the ball.
It's like that one
Well, yes, it does not favor short people.
It's crazy how tall some tennis players are. It's like I think there was
The average height is 185, I think.
yeah, that's crazy. I'm like 172-ish for reference. It's like, and I'm like, well, I think
You can be good if you're short, but your game has to change. It can't be the same as a tall guy.
yeah, right.
you can't
but it-
get extra height on
yeah.
smashes.
Oh, I was
which is-
always really bad at like serves and smashes, but like my ground game was like made up for it.
like you spend less time like getting down to the ground, so
Yeah.
those low shots are easier to hit.
By the way, feel free to have more slices if
That's
if
actually
the
nice.
PE pizza doesn't entice you or anything. So yeah, what are we talking about? Smashes.
Have you ever smashed a tennis racket?
No.
Have you ever married?
Yeah, of course.
Really? Because you're such a calm guy. You're such a calm and jolly guy.
Almost everyone has smashed a tennis racket.
Really?
Like 99.9%
I
of
played for 10
people that
years,
have played tennis
didn't smash a racket at all.
tennis racket at some point.
I think I've been close to, but it's like I feel like if I never really got mad at tennis. I would get like mad, but not like you wouldn't see me visibly get mad unless like you see me like shake my head or just be like come on, like why did I do that? It would be verbal maybe, but never physical. The worst I would do is maybe like punt a ball into the like fence.
Yeah.
Very aggressive.
But it's like, I mean, because well, obviously I didn't have spare rackets, so I'm like,
Future employers, this is a good idea to pedestal to the defense.
no, I didn't have spare rackets, right? So if I smash my racket, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah,
can't, I can't
exactly,
play
yeah.
anymore, right?
Yeah.
And also I value, like, obviously growing up, my parents would buy that for me, so I'm like, I value my parents' investment in my like passions, so I'm not gonna just like smash a tennis racket, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's like, controllers are pretty expensive. Like one.
Have you ever, another question. Have you guys ever smashed a controller?
No.
I've never.
No,
never
what?
close.
No.
I've definitely-
What?
I've
I've
like-
smashed so many.
I've like thrown my controller onto my bed, but like that's because it's my bed, so it's like,
I've smashed
I
so
tossed it onto
many.
the bed just because I'm like, oh, not because I'm not angry. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh.
But like for me, like some of like the most expensive controller I have, like I think it retails for like $300.
is it a box or?
No, it's like the DualSense Pro.
Oh.
Oh, DualSense Edge, that's what it's
Does it
called.
got like the little macros on it?
Yeah, it's got the little paddles on the
yeah.
back for extra buttons.
Mm.
So
What do the
I'm
buttons
always
do?
well, it's just like
Can you
extra
bind them to
buttons.
anything, or-
Yeah, you can bind them to
Oh,
like.
okay.
Are there rules around that? Because I know like in Smash you can't
It's,
really have macros.
Well, it's well, since it's a PlayStation controller, I can't use it for Smash. But
Yeah.
basically, like what I use it for is Street Fighter 6
Oh,
and like Capcom Pro Tour. They were like people with control. Like I think there's like a maximum number of buttons you're allowed to have, and the DualSense like Edge stays within that limit.
Yeah.
Because if you have a bind for like literally every single button available, you can. There have been some people who've been able to find some pretty crazy exploits, like being able to like block, like, and then throw tech everything as well, like with.
Oh yeah.
So basically, there was like this glitch that involved like a button macro, and basically, like, you could just like mash it, and you couldn't like be opened up at all. Like your opponent couldn't hit you with anything.
Yeah, I remember this.
So fortunately, that got patched out.
Speaking of like mental damage, man, nothing more terrifying to me when I play like Smash. Go into a game, the guy doesn't go into the standard controller change. He goes into the switch menu to start like.
Oh,
messing with
that's
his
even
buttons.
worse.
Like, what
Wait,
kind of-
really?
What kind of shit is he gonna pull?
Well, for some people, it's like comfort. Like some people want to have their jump button on their D-pad for
Yeah.
some reason.
Dude,
It's
Buzz at the
Yeah,
jam,
that
the
is
arcade
weird.
game, it just like opened up the switch menu and shit. I'm like, bro,
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
What's this guy doing?
It's yeah.
What kind of shit-
It's
what kind of,
it's
like,
uncommon,
jump
but it's
pull?
always such a sight. You remember it every time someone
Yeah.
opens up like the native controller mapping
Yeah.
menu instead of like the
normal.
the game one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's like it's a difficult line to walk. Obviously, there's a bit of controversy in the Smash scene regarding like the hitbox.
yeah.
Oh, so
Or like
yeah,
the-
for Marin, there's like a box controller
Yeah.
where it's like
It's basically
It's kind of like
like,
an arcade sort of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
traditional buttons.
but it's
Okay.
basically has like your directional movements are basically like a keyboard. So it's sort of like WASD. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that, but they're just like specific buttons,
yeah.
and so it allows for some like
Crazy stuff.
like a way greater degree of control since like all of the inputs are digital, so there's no human error behind any of them.
yeah. Yes, there's controversy behind that, but then there's also like, to what degree do you sort of allow this? Because for some people, it's genuinely an accessibility
Yeah.
option. So,
Yeah. Injuries in video games are like surprisingly common, at least for fighting games.
Injuries?
Yeah.
Well, like
And, like,
carpal
arthritis.
tunnel,
Carpal tunnel,
and
yeah.
arthritis, yeah.
arthritis.
Melee especially, like the GameCube Smash Bros was just like
dude,
Oh,
it's
I wish
such a
it was
gorgeous
like that.
controller, but it destroys
Yeah.
your hands.
Yeah,
It's
there's
just-
like that video
you
of
gotta
like,
you gotta push down all the way. That's the issue. It's like you
yeah,
can't-
but there's like a video of like how many actions per minute, like
Oh, yeah.
in like Melee or something, and it's basically like on the same level as like this really competitive real-time strategy game called StarCraft, and it's just
Like,
it's absolutely insane.
Yeah, insane thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like in League, for example, a lot of like pro League players can suffer from like wrist issues because they're like a lot
Yeah,
of
all the time.
in the
a
same
lot of
position,
APM
for a
on
long
their
time.
on their mouse.
Yeah.
Could
you imagine?
Yeah.
Doing that like
OC
12 hours a
players,
day.
so not playing competitive necessarily. OC players, man.
Oh, like rhythm
Oh.
gamers? Yeah.
Different breed of people.
Basically, it's like they
Damn.
click on the screen and like drag the mouse around, and it's just like
Yeah.
a lot of.
I know a girl that had to go to the doctor because she was banned from playing on the Switch for like.
Oh no.
Because like, she fucked her wrist.
Yeah.
Just pressing it.
Yeah, it can because you just overuse the tendon.
It's like,
It's just too
I don't
much.
want to have the table because it's gonna mess with the mics.
Oh, true. Whoops.
Yeah.
And I'm a drummer as well, so it's like
Yeah,
I also
yeah.
use my wrist for like that as well. So
Yeah.
between like between I don't know, growing up playing like table tennis, like video games, drums, music,
Yeah.
it's like my hands have been through it all.
Alright.
Yeah, I also did like a bit of saxophone in
Yeah.
high school, and I've got my own. I just haven't really put it to any
Yeah.
use.
I think instruments are like sort of the worst because I feel like controllers are sort of very much based around human hands. I feel like whenever I try to pick up an instrument, whenever I try to play piano, I feel like I am breaking my like bones or something.
Yeah, because controllers are designed. They're like a lot of them are designed with ergonomics in mind.
Yeah.
They're meant to fit comfortably in your hands, whereas instruments. They're designed in such a way so that they create the sound.
Yeah.
Like you can't make, say, a saxophone or a clarinet nicer to feel in your hands
Digital
by like
saxophone.
digital, true.
Yeah.
But without it like changing what sound comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Marin, are there any cursed tennis rackets?
Cursed tennis racket?
Yeah,
Well,
tennis
aren't
rackets
they-
that can like destroy your hands or
Well,
something.
Wouldn't they all be under like specific standard?
Not
Like
really, no.
Is there a regulatory body for tennis rackets?
A regular body for the.
Regulatory body for like tennis rackets.
You mean like the shape, like the head
Like,
size?
does it have to be like a certain shape or like have a certain weight to them? Or
or like grip.
I think there are. I don't actually know the exact specs,
Mm.
but there are. Usually it's like around this big,
Yeah.
and it's around 300 grams on average.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can't just
I
have
think
like
there
a,
are. I'm pretty sure there
you
are
can't have
specs.
you can't have like a rock. You can't bring a rock to a tennis game and just.
I don't
use
think.
that.
Or a
You-
frying,
I
or
think-
a frying pan. There's this one guy, Andy Roddick. He was playing with a frying pan
for like an exhibition match probably, or
against this guy that thought he could beat him,
Oh,
and he
Oh,
still lost.
of course.
damn, that's crazy.
Because you know how players are like sometimes, we can
Yeah.
beat professionals. We can win games off professionals.
Yeah.
He played this guy with a frying pan, and he still beat him.
That's the thing. We just kind of look into. It's like, what's the difference from like once you reach the technical hurdle, it's like your proficiency. You can like, you know how to play tennis. You're not thinking about like how you're playing. Like you're not focusing on yourself, but you still get your ass handed to you by a guy with a frying pan.
Yeah.
It's like, where does that gap?
That's a good reality
Where
check.
is like the gap in ability come from?
Um,
I'm gonna go keep.
Technique and fundamentals, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's funny that you mentioned that with the frying pan. There's a channel I watch on YouTube called Pongfinity, and it's like there's a bunch of table tennis guys, and they're really good. Like they compete on a professional level, like not super like
Yeah.
top of the world, but enough, right? Like they've won championships and things like that. They're from Finland, but they do like public challenges where it's like to like a park, and they're like come challenge us to a game of like table tennis. And it's like you get to pick what items they use. So sometimes they'll use like a frying pan. Sometimes they'll use like a cup or something.
A
And these guys like still just like completely destroy these randoms. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously the randoms aren't the best at table tennis, but it's like you're so proficient at what you do, is that, and especially with like something like tennis or table tennis, you sort of know how a ball feels,
Yeah.
and so you know how to hit it no matter what you're using.
But like, strangely enough, like video games, it's like completely different. Like, you will have like someone who's use like a specific type of controller, and they've used that for basically hell sometimes their whole life, and then sometimes you'll give them like a different controller, and their level of skill will just go way down.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. What was funny?
Because the feel, it's
Yeah.
different.
The muscle memory, right? Like it's you have like a GameCube controller, and then you have like a Pro controller, and even though they're quite similar, and all the buttons do the exact same thing, they're in slightly different positions,
Yeah.
and for some people that like messes them up a bit more, or like being a drummer, it's like I'm used to where my kit pieces are.
Yeah.
I know I gotta like extend my arm this much to hit this
Like
one.
how long, how heavy your sticks are.
Yeah, exactly right. So when you move, like when I've had to move to like different kits, it definitely takes like
A little bit of time
10
to
minutes or
adjust.
something just to like get used to like the space around me.
Yeah.
Like, maybe maybe this snare is a bit too high, or this cymbal is so far away, or maybe like one of my cymbals that I use, like the ride that is used for like rhythms, is like here, but normally I have it like here.
Yeah.
So it's like instinctively I'll go down to like do a fill and I'm gonna finish here, but I should be finishing here instead.
Like for saxophone, the most similar thing would probably be like mouthpiece and then the reed, because like there's different it's like thicknesses of the reed.
Yeah.
And I think for like most like adults and like professional players, they'll usually use like a 2.5 or like 3 like thickness of reed. And like if you're using like a different level of thickness or a different kind of mouthpiece, like your whole like play and sound can sound completely different.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. So in high school, I used to be a clarinetist. So I would be used to like one way of like playing the clarinet. Like, you use like, I think it's like a 1.5 reed or 2 on a clarinet.
What's a clarinet?
It's an instrument. It's a long black, like sort of like tube.
Yeah. With like a little like sort of horn shape at the end, similar to like a trumpet shape, but small.
It's sort of in between, like, I guess like a flute and then also like a saxophone trumpet kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's got a bunch of keys, and like to make the sound, you gotta like block the holes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like sort of similar to like flute or recorder, where you have to block the holes to change the note.
Yeah.
But
unlike saxophone, which like has buttons for the keys that cover the holes, like clarinet, you have to specifically cover each holes with your finger.
Yeah.
And if your finger like can't cover the hole properly, then your sound gets ruined.
Or it's like, because like if it's not covering it properly, because even though my finger could definitely cover the whole part of like a note, if I don't hit it correctly, then there'll be a little gap for the air to escape, and it'll just like change the sound.
Yeah.
But with reeds, for example, it's like my dad got into tenor saxophone like a couple years back, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll try it out myself. It took me so long to get a sound out of it.
Yeah, because it's way more air.
Yeah, right. It's a completely different reed. It's a different way of like blowing that I'm used to.
But yeah, Riley, going back to your question, it's skill level.
Skill.
Yeah.
But like, what is
Level
in that
of skill.
What is skill though? Do you think?
Skill is the times put into it,
And your ability to execute
Yeah.
the things you've practiced.
the repetition you've put, and just the skill you've been able to gain through all the training. So the skill level's much higher than this guy here. So the guy with the fry pan skill level's here,
Yeah.
where the other guy's like here,
Like
just because he hasn't done as much as this
It might
guy.
be because I'm not very good at sports and things, but the thing about repetition, I'm just sort of like, thank you, Trent. I'm like, how true is that? I mean, it's definitely true to a degree, right? But like quite often, I feel like you see sort of breakthroughs in terms of how someone wants to play, or like where does that come from, and how much does that sort of contribute? Just this sort of different way of looking at it, or different way of playing.
Yeah.
What is
Sometimes it's a unique thing, so everyone kind of has their own play style and their own way of doing things, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone does things differently, right? Yeah, that's actually it. Everyone does things differently.
Yeah,
Everyone's body's different. Everyone's got different limbs, right? So it's not going to look the same.
Yeah. Do you mean like breakthroughs in terms of like improving in like?
Improving, or it's like you can just operate, like play on a higher level, in the process, in the span of like 1 week. As you could
Usually it takes time. Like there's not much you can do in a week, to be honest.
Well, yeah.
People think you can, but nothing much happens
it
in a
takes
week.
time, but it's like you reach like a plateau.
Yes.
And then you get above that. What is
Perspective, mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset is very big.
Yeah, I think there's like two things to it, because like both in Smash Bros and in tennis, obviously I practiced a lot, but I think what sort of helped me sort of guide me, and also like sometimes
Usually it's just putting in more hours.
yeah, it's putting in more hours, but then also like watching, right? A lot of people say like
learning
like
from
VOD
others.
analysis or like review of like a video, like a match. It's funny. It's interesting. I sort of only understood that concept playing Smash Bros. Because like analyzing your matches is such a huge cultural thing in fighting games. And it's like, I never thought, like, as a kid, I'm like, why did I never record my tennis matches? But I watched so much tennis that it's like I see these situations that appear at any level of play that the professionals are in, and I
Yeah.
see how they deal with it, and you sort of learn from that and try and apply it yourself. I think when we talked about plateaus, it sort of applies there as well, because you could see the answer, but then it's another thing to execute the answer.
Yeah.
I think that's another huge point you got there, Trent. And this is something I've told my brother like a lot, because like watching JM League, right? Watching my matches back, I'm like, I shouldn't do this, and it's like if I didn't have that like video recorded, it's like I would have never picked up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even
And I think this is something we picked up for tennis, right? Me, who's never really played tennis, like you should watch your matches back if you can, record them, because you can learn so much.
I do.
Yeah, you record them?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's great.
The
yeah.
ones I can, not
Yeah,
all
oh,
of
yeah, I
them,
didn't
but
realise
the
that
ones
you-
that I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you see things differently, a lot differently, because you think you're doing something one way, and then you see how you actually do it, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, no, because I feel like
Right?
when I was playing in
Like
juniors,
what?
they had like rules against it, because like you weren't allowed to like record minors, because like we were
Yeah.
under 18 playing, so you couldn't like actually get people to. I mean, you could secretly do it, but if you got caught, you might get in trouble.
Yeah, there'd be a few questions.
Well, so no, because one time I did get annoyed in a match because like there was one guy
I didn't actually know that.
watching his son, and he was like recording him, but it was like I was on the other side of the court, so I could see him like right up pressed up against the gate recording his
Oh,
son.
yeah, that's
and I'm
tough.
just like it's not the biggest distraction, but I lost the game, and I'm like, bro,
Yeah,
like,
it's
stop
true.
stop recording,
this
man.
tiniest thing can distract you. It's crazy.
Like, I'm like, stop recording. But then my like the manager of our team, or the captain of our team, his dad was like, oh, technically they're not meant to do that. I'm like, oh, why is that? It's like, yeah, because like your kids, like technically you're not meant to record, or at least as part of my tennis
without permission.
Without permission. Oh, sorry. Without permission, a part of that, the junior tennis association said like, yeah, you're not allowed to record these matches
Yeah,
for
honestly,
child
that
safety.
seems
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like it's a tennis match. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, like,
But like,
there's not much going on. Just
Yeah.
rallies.
I guess it just maybe like, oh, you both players need consent to it, and then it's
Yeah.
like, feel out.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. Thanks,
Yeah.
Riley.
Thanks.
No worries. By the way, feel free to have another slice. So this is a pea-based sauce
Interesting.
with
with pancetta.
oh.
See, I saw the green, and I'm like, avocado. Like,
No. Apparently it's good, but I've never had it,
Ooh, shit.
and I might have messed up the recipe. So we'll
Where did you get this recipe from?
a YouTube channel called Vito Iacopelli.
wait, that's really nice.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I think pea can be a bit overpowering, but that's very
No,
nice.
It is good. Yeah. No, I didn't expect it. I didn't know what I was going to expect. But
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, like spinach and sort of like pea purees, it's a
Yeah.
very subtle taste.
No, this is really good. This is going on my
On the regular.
yeah on the regular, because it's very subtle and it's very and it's just good. It's like sweet,
Yeah.
Oh, you know when you hit the meat?
and then you hit the meat, and it's just
That's good.
it complements. it
Wow,
well.
that's really, really nice.
Yeah. Bro, I keep sitting on my like
Your
I
phone?
got a flip phone.
Oh, oh, that's
I
right.
was wondering what that was.
I keep sitting on it, and like it's so easy to butt dial.
Oh, is it?
And I have butt dialed many times.
I rarely do it.
I mean with touchscreen.
I've probably done it like once.
I've done it a couple of times. It's very embarrassing sometimes, especially with autocorrect. Like there was a time where it was like I think it was pressing in the middle suggested text, and I was like long-term business plan.
Am I good to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cheers.
Anyway, breaking up the episode here real quick. Probably on this second half. I haven't told Trent. I told Costa because you had to prepare. We're having a live match.
Oh, are we?
We're having
What?
a live match.
Yeah, I'm gonna cook your ass.
Oh, okay. What?
Our tennis.
Smash.
Smash? Okay.
I was gonna try and like do Fighterz. I don't know if Trent plays Fighterz.
No, it's all good. No,
And
it's
then
all good.
I know Costa used to play a little bit of Smash, and he lost to Epic at Pixel.
Really?
Epic? Did I?
Yeah.
I don't see.
I stalked your Smash.
No, it's all good. I did take a game off Ray's once,
He knows more
Crazy?
about
Oh, there
Yeah.
you go. Yeah. Nice.
like against his link. Like,
Yeah.
Like and yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, no, that was like when I was like Smash was basically like.
You
what
know,
I
I
was
know a
playing.
good podcast idea would be.
What?
This would be the best idea ever.
What's that?
Mario Kart podcast.
No, I feel like anyone can do that, but that's the issue.
Do you think?
Well, yeah, it's like, I can't do this maybe we can do this every episode. Maybe this is
You
the
can.
real
You can. It's so much fun, right?
Yeah.
I know you're doing the race. You're doing a whole circuit, right? So you've probably got like 10 minutes to talk about any podcast.
Yo, I kind of messed up here on OBS. I had accidentally had like 2 tracks for the Switch. One was way louder, so I'm just going to commentate over everything, talk about what we were talking about at the time, because it didn't really show up on the video. That being said, this is sick. I set it up so we could have a live match between one of the country's best Fighterz players versus potentially one of the country's best, maybe the best Shulk player in the country. Probably the best Shulk player in the country.
Oh, yeah.
So here we go. They're just changing the controls. They were sort of talking about here, like, where did the name come from, right? So, like, what is Gal P? And I forget where the Gal came from, but, like, the P was, like, a meme. It, like, stood for, was it, like, perfect? Was it, like, Petros? You know, what could it be? I made a joke somewhere about, like, damn, you should play Ness. I'm going to be like, yo, the Gal P Ness. But we never know. And then Kasai Costa basically said that his name came from like his first and last name put together. You can see him here playing with the controls, making sure he's comfy, got all that stuff going, all solid, all good. Good to see those kicks working like that. On other terms, how's everyone's day? How's all our listeners' day going today? You know, how are they going? Top of the morning to you, lady. So that's Kasai's controls. You know, he's got a very solid control set. I think that's both of them, right? Hazardless rule set. There were no items on. I played a game later that had items, and you can see everyone in the corner there playing the game. So it's very cute. Picked a random stage. Didn't do any crazy gentleman stuff. Galpi. What characters they're going to go for? I already know, because this is in the past, but that being said, we're gonna see it. We're gonna go for. She's gonna go for a Shulk. What's Kasai gonna go for? He's got his hand on Joker. Me Brawler. Yes, he's talking about his name here. What else I was gonna say is, within the match, there's a lot of talking about what we sort of discussed in the podcast, and a lot of like, oh well, you know, the skills actually do translate over a bit. You do have a bit of like transference in this. He picks the blue Roy. Oh yeah, he's talking about his name here. He's like, coincidentally, so Kasai, he plays Roy, right? And he got this name when he was playing Smash. He plays Roy, and in Japanese, Kasai means fire, so it's very fitting, very cool. They're going to Smashville. Let's see how this game opens up. A speed up from Trent. Okay, good up tilt. Controlling space pretty well. That being said, Kasai is still being pretty good with it. He's being pretty nice with it. Buster's on, but will he be able to get some? He's got some good damage. 70%, 80%. Very solid stuff. That being said, this is Roy, and he is very explosive. Oh, good counter. F tilt, keep him off. But he's just going to be able to position way better with the jump on. And I guess that was an SD, a very sad Roy moment, really. That being said, just gets the F smash and a taunt, 2 taunts, 3 taunts. He gets the triad. All right, down tilt. So it's kind of back to being even again. Okay, good up B into Buster, and he is just going to do some serious damage. 61%, 70%, 91%, 100% off of like one Buster out. That's pretty impressive. And he's going to kill off of that and up B. That being said, Kasai brought it back really fast. First stock, so let's see how we can do this time. Best and down tilt, forward throw. Oh, up tilt, forward tilt. Oh, forward. Okay, this is like pretty dominant on the part of Trent right now. That being said, a pretty good showing by Kasai. He's been able to pull off some things that are like, pretty like pretty good. Just because he hasn't really played Smash in like years. And yeah, just been playing like Fighterz since then. Oh, okay, messes up the up B.
It's too easy.
Doesn't get punished for it though. And just a really good back hit of the Nair there. He's very good. He understands Shulk on a very fundamental level. It's like Shulk's got like some unorthodox sort of moves, I guess, but Trent definitely knows how to use them. Oh, and just a really solid counter there, and able to pick up on that because, you know, Shulk back air is a pretty like. Oh, okay, there we go. He takes it back. That being said, it was a last stock game against one of the best players in the state. After not playing Smash for like two years or whatever. So, good match by Kasai. So this was a best of 3. It was whoever gets best of 3 is the winner, right? Same character. Something I'll say here, which is kind of disappointing, is that Marin's like, you know, Trent's good because he's just talking so much while he's playing, and Costa was talking too. But like, we don't get to hear it because I messed up the audio. Northern Crater. This stage is not legal, but it's on my rule set because of my show, my rules. Oh, was that a Nestia? No, he's back. So some pretty good control on the part of Trent again, able to really keep him out there. Good down throw, dash attack. He's doing a lot of damage with Buster Rod. He's really like hitting it where it counts. Kasai's just sort of throwing out stuff, but it is methodical. He's just not hitting the juicy boy sweet spot. And that's a really good forward air on the part of Trent. I mean, this is me sort of saying it knowing how the match goes, but like I think there's a lot of good spacing and like positional awareness with the forward air, and just takes it with an F smash, just takes it up. I kind of feel bad for Marin here because he has no idea what he's watching. He doesn't know what's going on really. Which is alright, but you know, it's episode of 1v1 competition. I can't make him go. Yeah. Oh, see that forward air was really good because it kind of covered like all of Kasai's options. But yeah, it's 1v1 competition. I can't have like a 4-player game, 3-player game. What is this? All right. So being a bit more careful with his moves here, both of them. Because, yeah, Kasai's on his last stock, and he has to make it up 2 stocks. And Trent is also, I think, sort of just wanting to maintain his, like, his lead, pretty much, is what I'd say. We'll talk about it a bit more later on the show. I think we might have done it before as well. It's sort of the mindset shift that comes from, like, when you're in the lead, you sort of, like, start playing worse because, like, you can afford to. And good up B there. I am surprised like Roy's up B can kill off the top. So yeah, but just doing more damage with the Buster, that's just he's just really got that. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a mental thing or what. He does so much damage. But yeah, the forward air again. And BAM! Okay, never mind. It didn't actually spike. But it was still a pretty sick kill. And now we're back to the
hold that.
I set it up earlier and I was like, oh damn, I just like kept playing against the CPU.
Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, good set there.
And the pizza tastes so much better as well.
Tastes, yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I do think there is some kind of crossover mentally, even though that didn't necessarily show it with. I wonder what is like the. Would Costa, would you be if you were to translate the skills over directly, who would be higher ranked? Who would be? Because I feel like Smash is the biggest scene than Fighterz.
Would I be high ranked at Smash? No, probably not. But it's also because I guess I just like haven't really like played played at least like to a high competitive level in a while. So while people have been like really grinding it out and like getting better, I've like either stagnated or even gotten worse.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Like one of the greatest players of Smash Bros, MK Leo, he was like uncontested #1 since 2019.
Yeah.
Until like I want to say recently, but some people say he's fallen off or he's gotten washed. But he sort of says that like, you know, the game's been out for 5 years, right? And eventually like he was one of the early adopters. Like he's been playing since 2010 or something in Smash Brawl for the Wii. So he's had so much experience, and he was already at the top of the competitive level in Smash 4 back in like 2014 to 2018. And then going into Ultimate, he just sort of was able to like, he started at a much higher base than people just getting into the game.
Yeah.
From all those years of experience. But then he's saying now the game's been out for so long, people have grinded hard, and now it's just like people have caught up to him. And at one point, like, it's not that you plateau, but it's just that like people reach your level.
Yeah, or better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The competition catches up.
That's interesting. Do you think it's because like people are sort of innately better, or do you think it's like you carve the path and people can just follow that more easily? You know,
Both, actually.
like if you're surrounded.
The second one more.
You reckon? Yeah.
Because you carve the path, and then there's an easier path for them. Then they just move up. That's it.
What's the thing where it was like the guy that did like the 1 minute mile or something? Where
1
it's
minute
like
mile.
it was or like 5 minute mile or something. Where it's like no one had ran a mile. This is
It's
American,
probably 1
so I
minute.
say mile.
It's probably 1 minute.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, probably.
It's 5 minutes for a mile. It seems like a long time.
Yeah, it was a 2 minute mile.
Because you could probably sprint like a mile. How much is a mile? Like 600 meters?
I think it's 1.6 k's.
Oh, okay. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like
Yeah, honestly, it seems like a minute. Because if you sprint 800 meters, you could easily do that in a minute.
Yeah.
And if you're a professional who does only that, then you could probably get it in like a minute. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's a minute or if it's 2 minutes or whatever, but there was this one guy everyone's like, you can't do this, no one's done this before, right?
Yeah.
And then one guy did it, he's like, oh, you can actually do this, is this physically possible? And then like the next year, like 40 people did it.
Yeah, because they said, oh, this guy can do it, so
Yeah,
now we can do it as well.
That is...
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, you carve the way.
Yeah.
What was interesting, because it's like, if we think back to like Smash Melee for the GameCube, you had like people that would like discover things, like discover these new like techniques or these new like options.
Yeah.
Or even all like the famous exploits that in the game, like wave dashing and all these different movement techniques that you can do in the game. And a lot of these players that were like the king at the time, but then people come up and then they sort of like just surpass them, right?
Yeah.
And even now, it's like you have people, you know, this game's like over 20 years old, but you still have people that are coming up and doing really well. It's even surpassing, you know, the people that have been at the top
Just
for
grinders.
10 years,
Yeah.
right?
Do you know what surprises me the most? When you play Call of Duty now. Because you play Call of Duty online, right? Like, I used to be alright at Black Ops.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I tried Black Ops 3. I don't know if there's a Black Ops 3, but I'm sure, I don't know. There's just so many. I played one of the new ones, and I was like, I used to be alright at the previous one. Let me play the new one. And then you respawn, you get headshotted.
Yeah.
And then you respawn, headshot. You go around, oh, where is everyone? Boom, headshot.
Yeah.
And then you look at the replays, and there's a guy from like all the way on the other side. They're just so good, man. They're just grinders. All they do is,
Well,
all
I
they do is
play,
play.
you know, Valorant, right? It's an FPS game, Valorant.
All they do
Yeah.
is play COD.
Yeah, well, it's like I played Valorant when it first came out, and I came from like a CS:GO background, so I had
Yeah,
like,
Counter-Strike as well.
I had
used
like
to play
shooter game
Counter-Strike.
experience.
That was such a fun week, bro. It was just all the league players would just get destroyed by anyone. I'm terrible at CS, right? I'm terrible at CS. I just know you just can't like walk around, like run around corners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's just like you just win.
What was that most famous map in Counter-Strike? The original
Dust
one?
2?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
That
But
rings a few
yeah,
bells,
so like
yeah.
with Valorant, like a lot of the people that had those
AK-47, yeah.
those shooter experiences did really well, but then it's like, you know, after like a couple of months we stopped playing Valorant, and then I think earlier this year we were like, oh, let's just play it. So we were like playing for a month, sort of like a little phase, but then everyone just got like so good.
Yeah,
Just
that's what happened.
just
They
the
just
general
grind.
level of the
They
player
just-
base
yeah,
just
they
like went up. So even like your average Joe would be like killing
Yeah.
you in like 2 shots.
Your top Joe.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's with most games, sports. It's just
It's the
any
competition.
skill.
The competition lifts each other up.
Yeah.
Kind of just the way it works.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that's really cool about sports, because it's like, because like games come and go, but sports are like forever, right?
Usually, yeah.
And like what stops people is either they retire, they get old, and like because there's so much physical,
Physically, yeah.
like it's their body that's their timer rather than just like
And emotional.
yeah. Yeah, the body's the timer instead of the like say how lively the game scene is, because like games die off, they eventually they finish or they get new iterations.
I
So
think it's also very mental because a lot of players get drained mentally because it's difficult doing the same thing your whole life, right?
yeah.
Like it does get exhausting. That's why
And also like, sorry, go on.
a lot of players retire because of that.
Yeah.
But physically they're still alright. It's just that mentally they just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I think an example of that would be someone like Nick Kyrgios. Like he physically like is still like pretty good. Like he's younger than some of the older players like Roger Federer, who's retired, Nadal, Djokovic. Even though he's younger, I like saw I think a documentary about I think it was last year's Australian Open, and that he was just like where him and Kokkinakis won doubles. Like for him, like he said, singles wasn't fun anymore. So it's that sort of like mental and like desire to even win. Like even though he's still very skilled, like if you don't have a desire or don't really
A
want to
drive.
Yeah,
compete,
exactly. Desire's big.
Every time I hear it, I'm always just like,
What's happening? What's happening behind me? But
We're just talking about Nick Kyrgios.
it's like getting to the end of like what makes people retire, like what keeps competitors like going on. Because we like, I think it applies to both like sports and video games.
Passion, I would say passion.
But also like a lot of these guys, it's less so for video games, but it's still to an extent. The
Passion
top
as well,
players
yeah.
become like celebrities, right? And so you have not only your own pressures, but then now there's public pressure. Like you're the best in the world, right? Like you're gonna perform, right? And then what happens? Like we just saw I've been keeping up with the Paris Masters. Carlos Alcaraz, number one player, lost in the very first round.
But that guy's doing really good.
Yeah.
Roman Safiullin, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
Well, I think
He's
that's
doing
the thing
great.
with like Smash. At least there's no money in it. It's like fucking. I think Nintendo had a thing specifically. It's like if like there can't be a prize pool greater than like $2,000.
Oh, no way.
Something like that, yeah.
So it's like between like top three. It's like the most you can win is like a grand.
like I've
if-
never seen any company or business like kill their own like
Well,
game
yeah,
or sport
it's actually
more
true.
than Nintendo.
Apparently, like esports guidelines have been a thing for like forever, and it's like apparently what Nintendo has done isn't too dissimilar from what other communities have done, specifically like fighting games. Like apparently it's the same in Street Fighter or Tekken, but it's just so much more extreme.
Yeah.
Because it's like Tekken, I think like there's 6 figures they're dealing with. Nintendo, it's like here's 5 figures.
Well, the latest
4 figures.
Have three.
the latest
You can have
Bro, that's just a whole hand, man. You got.
but the latest Capcom Pro
They're
Tour.
destroying their hands for like permanently for less than
Yeah.
4 figures.
See, there's a tweet of like the
Hungry Box, and it's like fifth place,
fifth place,
350.
yeah, like $70.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, this doesn't cover my flight home. This like covers my dinner maybe for the
Yeah.
next 2 days.
But like for Capcom for Street Fighter 6, the grand prize for their like Capcom Pro Tour, so it's like basically you'll compete, or like people all over the globe will like compete in tournaments and they'll qualify for a spot. And then like if you win this like Capcom Pro Tour tournament, the grand prize for first is $1 million.
Yeah. So it's ridiculous. Or even like back a couple of years ago when Fortnite was just pumping like $3 million into their tournament for like
Yeah.
prize money. And
I
I'm
heard
like,
that
that's
guy
ridiculous.
never got paid. He never actually got paid.
Really?
I
Like,
I
think.
think never got paid as $1 million. There's Mr. Beast $1 million.
Yeah.
Awesome prosciutto?
Yeah, no, just ham.
Oh, ham,
and
okay.
goat's cheese and
Ah.
mozzarella as usual. But
Could have fooled me.
Damn, it actually looks really nice.
prosciutto's usually good, but it's like it's too expensive, man. You go to Italy.
It's
and
also
like,
so chewy. It's so.
Oh, it depends on the prosciutto. You
Yeah.
get like really good prosciutto, but it's like you go to Italy, prosciutto's like $2 for a whole bunch of prosciutto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here it's like fucking $10.
Yeah.
Well, it's because,
Import.
if they import it, then
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that plus markup
Yeah.
plus.
Plus shipping.
But I think
Yeah.
even then, it's like at least I go to Woolies. I know my girlfriend's like, don't go to Woolies, go to the grocery.
Yeah,
the
well-
specific grocery.
Oh, like have you
it's so convenient.
like it's all? Have you heard all like the stuff around like all the big like Coles and Woolies just like $1 billion profits, and
Oh yeah.
it's just
Maybe making money.
yeah.
You know what surprises me the most about Woolies? The amount of food they have made in China.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Like
you wouldn't
like
think it, would you?
Woolworths products.
Yeah,
like their home
Woolworths brand.
Oh.
Woolies, even products in general, but they even have Woolies products
Oh,
that
yeah,
are
feel
made
free
in
to
China.
Take some
Napkin.
napkins and some
Nice.
paper towels. I feel like they were on the table, but I don't know why they didn't.
Space.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of that, hopefully
You're
have a
covering
guest
the
on in a couple
pizza?
weeks
Yeah.
I
that
think you're
goes over
covering
that
the
whole thing.
pizza.
I'll just put it on.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
Goat cheese ham.
Oh, you didn't show the camera this time.
Oh yeah, well I made it before, I guess. So it's like
Oh, okay,
I didn't say
yeah,
I made
yeah,
a margarita a million times and I showed the camera. But yeah, hopefully I get a guest on in a couple of weeks. Talk about pickles, dealing with Woolworths and things. But we'll see.
It's actually crazy, like how much stores like Woolworths or even like big name brands own. Like you know, like Nestle or Coca-Cola.
Yeah,
like,
they own
so much.
Yeah, that's one thing, but for food to actually be made in China, that
Yeah.
like really got me. I was
Yeah.
like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Well,
That's strange.
I got like this nice pack of goji berries, and I was like, oh yeah, goji berries.
and they were made in China.
No, made in China. I was like, what?
Well, I mean, if it's like they're
What?
grown in China, it's like okay, we're just grown in China. You know what's
Packed,
really crazy? About,
packed
like,
in China.
the
Yeah,
Nestle-
grown in
the
China.
Nestle and everything though is that it's like
Yeah, they've
these
taken.
are like
they've
massive
taken
companies
over.
that have gone back like. I mean, some of them have gone like back like over 100 years, right? And they just have crazy stories about like the time they have like caused mass famine in like, well not mass famine, like major famine in like parts of African countries, just from cutting off the water. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
like
pretty bad.
Nestle. It's like, what was it? It was some like Nestle just taking away people's water in Africa or,
Yeah.
or something. Is
No way.
really scuffed.
Yeah, there's
It's
like
terrible, isn't it? A lot of businesses have really bad
practices.
Histories or
history. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like I mean,
I
a lot of
think
it comes to
Fashion
light
Nova.
now.
I think Fashion Nova as well. I was looking into it, and they had all these workers in like Thailand or Indonesia or somewhere,
Hmm.
and they were owing millions, and they never ended up paying it.
I feel like the ghost cheese isn't strong enough on this pizza. It's usually got more of a tang. But
Yeah, it's ridiculous how many like. I mean, you see like on Twitter and stuff like, or even just some of my friends that like, yeah, boycott Nestle, like,
Yeah.
don't support it.
yeah, but Kit Kats are pretty good though. That's the issue.
Oh.
Yeah, like Crunch, like. I mean, that's the whole thing with consumerism, right? It's like there's no. They say there's no such thing as ethical consumerism, but I think the point is like once you know about something, it should be like it's in good conscience to like boycott something to a degree. Like I don't know. Say if you're working for Nestle, it's like, do you leave? This is your livelihood. This is your job. I don't know, but
You kind of can't, can you?
Yeah, but I mean, that being said, you know, if I had my way, everyone finance. Bye bye. No, man, I'm not being real though. I was watching like Aliens for the first time the other night. Halloween treat. Watching Aliens. Have you guys seen Aliens, like the movie?
I have.
Yeah.
I have a little
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah. So you know the guy that's like with the what are the little guys called? The little
Xenomorphs?
no, the face ones.
Face
face
huggers?
huggers?
Face huggers, yeah, that makes sense. They're in like the test tubes. He's like, I'm gonna sneak them back into the Federation. I'm gonna make so much money. And I'm like, if I watched this when I was a kid, I'd be like, no one's actually like this greedy. I'm like, man, I met so many people in finance that would just do this.
Money.
Be like, oh, bro, I gotta be grinding, man. I gotta be grinding.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but it is crazy, and it's just a real outlook people have. Anyway, enough about my rant. Onwards, I guess general topics. I feel like we've covered a lot of sort of the sport.
Competition
Does anyone
kind
want
of
to
stuff.
have any other questions? Anything else they want to add into this discussion?
Well, I'm thinking about it. Have you heard of the? I mean, it's almost like a meme, but have you heard of the Inner Game of Tennis?
Oh, the book.
The book.
The book. I've heard of it. I've never read it. I think I've told Brody, my brother, to read it before.
Yeah.
What's this
Can't
about?
say I.
So it's like a book basically on like competitors' mindset. It's a very famous book because like sometimes you hear a lot of people talk about it when they're talking about mental in sport or just competition in general. And I remember there was like I haven't read it, but I did see like small concepts that they highlight. Two key ones being it's something like two different selves, like your conscious self and your subconscious self, and you have to like treat them well. because it's like
Definitely, yeah.
when people say like it's sort of an ego thing. It's like, oh, it's like you idiot, or like why'd you do this, and you're talking to yourself. That's sort of like
Yeah, ego is very misunderstood.
yeah, that's sort of talking to like that second self. But then also another key point that they hone in on is like mindfulness and awareness. And it comes, but yeah, that ego, right? It's like taking yourself out of like any external pressures and focusing what's in the moment. Something I find that you might find, or even you when you compete, is like if you're playing against like your first opponent and you're like seeded to win. Sometimes it's almost more nerve-wracking
Yeah.
than like playing against an opponent you're
Yeah,
supposed
it
to
is.
lose to.
Yeah.
Like today, for example, I was having my tennis lesson and I was playing this guy, and he's much worse than me, I have to say.
Yeah.
And I said, if you win this point, you're better than me at tennis, right?
Did you win the point?
And he hit a winner. Boom. He won the point. I was like, oh my god.
Career's over.
My ego got a
Do you
hit.
ever do you ever tend to find that in tennis? It's like people that are way worse than you are harder than people that are like slightly worse than you.
No. At the start, yes,
Yeah.
because you don't have the skill to like manage that.
Yeah, because you,
But after a while, you manage
you
it.
need it. I feel like you got to sort of adopt like a different sort of play style for different people you're facing who are at different levels.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying one on one person,
Yeah.
or it's like you're trying. Okay, for Smash Bros, this was like interesting. I figured this out the other day. I played a lot of Sora, and then I couldn't play like other characters anymore. And I was playing Terry one day. I'm like, I just got to like change how I think, and I just got to act like I just want to smack people up really bad or something, and then I just win. I just win like with that mindset.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it works out. Confidence is
yeah,
huge.
it's just like
It's
changing.
belief.
It's like or like going from like a defensive sort of.
It's
in your head to,
mindset. It's
like,
definitely
yeah,
a
being like-
mindset.
At least I feel yeah.
Because if you look at all the greatest athletes,
Mm,
their mindset is really like powerful.
yeah.
Like they believe a lot.
Yeah.
Because
think-
a lot of the people that don't achieve or don't win don't believe,
Mm.
or are not confident.
Yeah, well, you got to go into it thinking you're going to win, pretty much. Or you really, I think that's so true. If you come in thinking you're going to lose, you're going to like lose pretty much every time.
Not if you're the better player. Like
Oh,
there's times
I
I've
don't
thought I want to. I'm not. I don't.
Really?
Don't want to play.
I think that
and
there's-
you
there's
still win
levels
because
to
you're
it.
like so much better.
Because sometimes I'm like, if people are hyping me up and it's like, oh, like you got this, man. It's like, no. It's
Yeah,
like,
the energy is
I
going.
could like, I could lose this. I'm not going to underestimate my opponent. But I think like, I don't know. I always find it's interesting. I find more often than not, it's not that people are clutch, or like it's more that people. I think people choke more often than people clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like that pressure. I feel like
It is the pressure. Yeah.
the most dangerous part of a game, no matter what you're doing, like it could be you're up 40, if you're up 40 love, there's so much pressure to close it out. And then like you start making mistakes, you might play like it a little more reserved.
The pressure is usually when it comes to the end of the first or second set or end of the match.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
there's
sorry,
specific times.
Yep.
40 love, I get not really.
Well, as if it's like
Love
0-0, then yeah, that's fine. But if it's like 40 love and you're on like match point
Yeah,
or like
then
set
obviously
point,
yeah you do.
yeah, and it's the same way in like video games, right? You have a massive lead. It's like, oh, now I always find
Can
it's
you
like
choke? Do you choke in video games? You would, right?
It's
yeah,
possible.
yeah, definitely, all the time.
There was one time like at BAM where I nearly landed a perfect, but
He didn't get hit once. He didn't get like hit once. in
but
the game.
basically like I just like messed up an input, and I for that I like basically like lost a character, and nearly like it could have steamrolled into me losing
Yeah.
the match, but
Well, it's the same. But how do you feel like when you're 2 sets to love up, and then all of a sudden your opponent
You win
wins
the match.
True, actually, yeah. No, like your opponent. I think
Yes, you feel good.
if you're playing a best of 5 and your opponent then wins set 3, it's the same way like in fighting games or something. Like you're 2-0 up.
Honestly, I don't know because they don't have best of 5 matches, only in Grand Slams. And
Oh,
not
that's right. Sorry,
many-
it's best
not
of
many
3. Yeah,
players
I keep
play Grand
forgetting
Slams.
that. Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry. So yeah, if you're 1 set up and then it's one, I guess it's different. If it's,
It's
like
different.
best of 3,
There's like
I'm just waiting for
it
someone to
comes
get up for that slice.
comes back to
Oh,
momentum.
No, I don't want to.
So
Yeah.
you want to kind of keep your foot on it
yeah. Because it's like
because the other player having just lost the first set, they'll do either two things. They'll either kind of start tanking and give up on the set,
yeah,
or they'll start listening up and playing better,
yeah,
which is usually what they do.
yeah.
And because they have less to lose now because they've lost the first set already,
yeah.
they're over the nerves and stuff, so they start playing a lot better. Actually, that's usually why you see a lot of the times players win the second set when they lose the first set.
Yeah, or it's like any times I've done really like long bracket runs where like since I'm like a middle seed, I'd have to make a lot of upsets or like against players that are meant to beat me. It's because when I get to those players, like it's sort of you play without pressure because it's like I'm not meant to win, so now I can just play the way I want to play. Like I have
that happens as well.
no external pressure.
Yeah, definitely.
But you have like matches.
It happens when you're a top seed and you play guys that are ranked lower.
Yeah.
You get all these guys that just play so well because they have nothing to lose, right?
Yeah, exactly right. That's the whole thing. I mean, that's why. And back to that like pressure of like being a celebrity, everyone's expecting so much, and it's exacerbated the higher you get to the higher skill level you get, and the more recognition you get because of it. Yeah, it's like it's a whole different beast. It's like, yeah, I find, I always, like, I never relax if I'm 2-0 up on somebody because it's like, I've reverse 3-0'd people before. It could definitely happen to me as well. So it's like, I try to like stay focused and not relax if I have a very big advantage.
I have that super bad. I'm always...
Because you become complacent.
I just relax and just lose. I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens to everyone.
Yeah, it's just something... Shush. It's just something with yeah. I don't know if it's like a subconscious thing or it's like
it's just
you gotta
it
really
happens.
fight. You gotta fight it. I think just to be like.
You have to be aware of it and deal with it.
Yeah.
Be on top of it.
Yeah.
But that's one of the hardest things to practice, right? People
That's
always
why
say,
it's mental. That's where tennis gets mental.
because it's like, how do you practice being in a tournament situation without being in a tournament situation? Which is where people sort of like use the cop out answer of like experience, but that kind of just is that is the answer, right? You experience being in a tournament setting so many times that you sort of get used to those feelings, that pressure of being in an advantage against your opponent.
Yeah. All right, we're probably gonna wrap up soonish.
Yeah.
One last question for Marin. You're the oldest one here.
Am I actually?
I think you're like 27.
That means I'm the wisest.
Yeah, pretty much, right? You're like,
Sage advice.
are you 27 or are you like?
You will listen to me.
Okay, you will never know. If you were to talk to yourself or like to a young competitor in like anything,
Yeah.
what advice would you sort of give? What are the key sorts of pieces of advice?
Just keep pushing past your limits and be the best that you can be.
Keep pushing past your limits, everyone. Okay,
Yeah,
any news
that's
this
right.
week? Anything crazy happened? 2 weeks ago was a gaming week. All these video games came out.
I have a question.
Mario, Sonic, Spider-Man. Anyone play these?
I have a question.
I have Mario.
Is the earth round or flat?
It's like a tennis ball, and we're about to get
There's your answer.
anyone play these games, I guess?
I have Mario. I still haven't opened it, but I did buy it on release day.
I played it a little bit.
Yeah, I've played both Mario and Spider-Man 2.
Give us your review. 10 seconds for each game.
Mario, it's similar to classic Mario games, like New Super Mario Bros. Wii.
Time.
Okay. Spider-Man 2, it's like absolutely amazing. Like graphics are wild and the swing mechanics are
It's
awesome.
a 10 out of 10. Mario,
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Anything
Good
else
stuff.
happen? Any more submarines go in the water?
Not yet.
Okay, before I wrap it up, final closing thoughts. You hear about the aliens a few months ago? It's all on the news.
Oh, that's
aliens.
right.
There's like crashed alien spaceships. I think it turned out to be like some Mexican fraudster. But anyway, I'm just like, if the alien ship crash lands here, right? And like we are meant to be getting the technology for ourselves, right? Harvesting the technology. I don't want to harvest the technology. That technology is probably going to be like the fucking billionaire submarine of alien spaceships. That's just
Since
gonna
it's crashed.
Yeah, it's gonna. Why did it crash? Yeah, it's like it shouldn't have crashed. Anyway, thank you everyone for being on. You guys have like social media or anything people to follow you at?
You have your YouTube channel. Do you have?
Instagram, Marin Dimitri 123.
Marin Dimitri 123.
Nice.
Galpy Drums
On YouTube,
on YouTube
and Twitter.
and Twitter.
I
This guy's
have.
famous.
Yeah,
I'm Kasai _ like AU on Twitter.
yeah.
Am I on anything else? No, not really.
He's not
Nice.
on anything else. And also, he is a loyal subscriber of Galpy, and that's what all you should do. Subscribe to Galpy Drums. Almost at 200K.
Not bad.
Right.